On May 14th, 2025, the sun roared with a fury that shook the very foundations of our modern world. A colossal X 2.7 class solar flare, the most ferocious eruption of the year, exploded from sunspot region AR 4087, hurling a torrent of energy toward Earth at the speed of light. This wasn't just a cosmic spectacle. It was a wake-up call, a stark reminder of our planet's vulnerability to the sun's unpredictable wrath. Radio blackouts swept across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, silencing communications and exposing the fragility of our technology-dependent society. In this gripping video, we'll dive deep into the heart of this solar storm, unravel its devastating impacts, and uncover what it means for our future. Buckle up. This is a journey into the chaos of space weather, and the stakes have never been higher. Picture this, a serene spring morning, the world humming along with its usual rhythm. Satellites orbit silently, GPS guides millions, and radio waves connect continents. Then, in an instant, everything changes. At 0825 UTC, the sun unleashes its fury. The X 2.7 flare, a beast of electromagnetic energy, surges from AR 4087, a volatile sunspot region that had been simmering with unrest for days. Solar flares are no small matter. They're classified by their X-ray intensity, with A, B, C, M, and X classes marking increasing levels of power. An X-class flare is the heavyweight champion, and the number that follows, like 2.7, tells you just how much stronger it is than a baseline X 1.0. This flare was 2.7 times more intense, a juggernaut of radiation that slammed into Earth's atmosphere almost instantly. But this wasn't AR 4087's first outburst. Just a day earlier, on May 13th, it fired off an X 1.2 flare, followed by an M 5.3 flare mere hours before the X 2.7 monster. These weren't random sparks. They were signs of a sunspot region crackling with energy, a ticking time bomb on the sun's surface. Sunspots are dark, magnetic patches where the sun's energy churns violently, often erupting in flares or coronal mass ejections, CMEs, massive clouds of plasma and magnetic fields that can wreak havoc if they hit Earth. While the X 2.7 flare didn't launch a CME our way, its raw power alone was enough to send shockwaves through our technology. And with AR 4087 rotating to face Earth more directly in the days ahead, the threat of Earth-directed CMEs looms large, promising even greater disruption. The immediate fallout was staggering. High-frequency radio communications, vital for aviation, maritime operations, and emergency services, went silent across vast swaths of the globe. The flare's X-rays and ultraviolet radiation supercharged Earth's ionosphere, a layer of the atmosphere that reflects radio waves. This sudden ionization turned the ionosphere into a chaotic barrier, absorbing radio signals in the 3 to 30 megahertz range and rendering them useless. Pilots lost contact with air traffic control, ships struggled to navigate, and emergency responders faced a communication blackout. Imagine the panic, the confusion, as critical systems failed without warning. This wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a glimpse into how deeply our world relies on technology and how quickly it can all unravel. But the damage didn't stop there. Satellites, the unsung heroes of our digital age, took a beating. The flare's radiation flooded low Earth orbit, increasing atmospheric drag and threatening to pull satellites off course. Navigation systems like GPS, which billions depend on daily, suffered signal delays and errors, throwing everything from smartphone maps to military operations into disarray. Even astronauts aboard the International Space Station faced heightened radiation risks, a chilling reminder that space weather doesn't just threaten Earth, it endangers those who venture beyond it. The ripple effects were felt everywhere, exposing the Achilles heel of our interconnected world. This wasn't the first time the sun flexed its muscles, and it won't be the last. We're in the thick of solar cycle 25, a roughly 11-year period where the sun's magnetic activity waxes and wanes. Right now, we're hurtling toward the solar maximum, expected to peak in late 2025, when flares and CMEs become more frequent and ferocious. The past few years have already given us a taste of what's to come. In 2024, sunspot region AR 3664 unleashed an X8.7 flare on May 14th, the strongest in decades, triggering a rare G5 geomagnetic storm. Auroras danced as far south as Texas and Spain, a breathtaking sight, but the cost was steep. GPS systems faltered, radio signals vanished, and airlines rerouted polar flights to avoid radiation. Earlier that year, on February 22nd, an X6.3 flare erupted, followed by an X9.0 behemoth on October 3rd. These weren't just cosmic fireworks, they were warnings of a sun growing more restless by the day. Fast forward to 2025, and the sun shows no signs of calming down. The X2.7 flare was just the latest in a string of powerful eruptions. On May 13th, AR4087 fired off that X1.2 flare, then an M5.3 flare, each one ramping up the tension. Scientists warn that this sunspot region could still unleash a CME directly at Earth, potentially triggering a geomagnetic storm that could dwarf the flare's impacts. Unlike flares, which hit instantly, CMEs take hours or days to reach us, carrying billions of tons of plasma that can tangle with Earth's magnetic field. The results? Power grid failures, pipeline corrosion, and radiation spikes that could ground flights and endanger astronauts. The 2003 Halloween storms, another G5 event, caused blackouts in Sweden and damaged transformers in South Africa. A similar storm today could cost billions and leave entire regions in the dark. The stakes are astronomical, and yet we're woefully unprepared. A recent space weather exercise in the United States revealed gaping holes in our defenses. Power grids, satellites, and communication networks are sitting ducks, vulnerable to a direct hit from a major CME. Experts estimate that a Carrington-level event, a superstorm like the one that struck in 1859, could cause trillions in damages and disrupt global infrastructure for months. Back then, telegraph systems sparked and caught fire. Today, a similar event could fry transformers, cripple internet backbones, and halt everything from banking to healthcare. The clock is ticking, and the sun doesn't care about our complacency. So, what happened when that X2.7 flare hit? It was a gut punch to our technology, a stark warning of what's at stake as solar cycle 25 intensifies. Radio blackouts left industries scrambling, satellites wobbled in their orbits, and GPS systems stuttered, reminding us how fragile our digital world is. But it's not just about the tech, it's about the human cost. Imagine families unable to reach loved ones during an emergency, pilots navigating blind, or hospitals struggling to coordinate care. These aren't hypotheticals, they're glimpses of a reality we're barreling toward if we don't act. Let's zoom out for a moment. The sun is more than a star. It's a cosmic force, a 4.5 billion-year-old titan that sustains life but also holds the power to disrupt it. Its surface is a cauldron of plasma, roiling with magnetic fields that twist and snap, unleashing flares and CMEs in bursts of unimaginable energy. When these eruptions target Earth, they don't just hit our tech, they challenge our resilience, our ingenuity, and our ability to adapt. The X2.7 flare was a single chapter in a much larger story, one that's been unfolding for millennia and will continue long after we're gone. But right now, in 2025, it's our story, and we're at a crossroads. The science behind this is both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Solar flares are born in sunspots where magnetic fields clash with explosive force. The X2.7 flare released a flood of X-rays and ultraviolet radiation, ionizing Earth's ionosphere in seconds. This ionization scrambled radio waves, creating a blackout that stretched across continents. But it's the potential for CMEs that keeps scientists up at night. A CME from AR4087 could slam into Earth's magnetosphere, inducing currents that overload power grids and fry electronics. The 1989 Quebec blackout, caused by a smaller geomagnetic storm, left millions without power for hours. Today, with our reliance on tech at an all-time high, the consequences would be catastrophic. Agencies like NASA, ESA, and NOAA's Space Weather Prediction Center are racing against time to monitor the sun. Satellites like the Solar Dynamics Observatory and the Parker Solar Probe peer into the sun's fiery heart, tracking flares and CMEs with unprecedented detail. These missions aren't just about science, they're about survival. By studying the sun's behavior, scientists hope to predict eruptions and give us a fighting chance to prepare. Flares hit instantly, but CMEs offer a narrow window, sometimes just hours, for grid operators, airlines, and satellite managers to brace for impact. Yet, prediction remains an imperfect art, and the sun's unpredictability keeps us on edge. The human element of this story is what hits hardest. Think about the pilot, high above the Atlantic, suddenly cut off from ground control, or the emergency responder unable to coordinate during a crisis. These are real people, caught in the crosshairs of a cosmic event they can't control. The X2.7 flare didn't just disrupt systems, it shook lives, reminding us that space weather isn't an abstract concept, it's a force that touches us all. And as Solar Cycle 25 ramps up, these disruptions will only grow. More flares, more CMEs, more chaos. The question isn't if, it's when. But there's hope amid the chaos. Scientists and engineers are fighting back, developing strategies to shield our infrastructure. Satellites are being hardened with better radiation shielding. Power grids are exploring ways to reinforce transformers and reroute electricity during storms. GPS systems are being upgraded with redundancy to withstand signal loss. Governments and private companies are pouring resources into space weather forecasting, building early warning systems to give us a heads up before disaster strikes. These efforts aren't just about tech, they're about protecting lives, livelihoods, and the systems that keep our world spinning. Public awareness is key. Most people don't think about space weather until the lights go out, but understanding the sun's power can empower us to act. Airlines now brief crews on solar storms, rerouting flights away from polar regions where radiation risks are highest. Emergency managers train for communication blackouts, ensuring backup systems are ready. Even individuals can prepare, keeping battery-powered radios stocking up on essentials, and staying informed about space weather alerts. Knowledge is power, and in the face of a volatile sun, it's our greatest asset. Let's talk about the bigger picture. The X-2.7 flare wasn't an isolated event. It's part of a pattern, a crescendo of solar activity that's been building for years. Solar Cycle 25 has already delivered some of the most powerful flares in decades, and we're not at the peak yet. The X-8.7 flare in 2024, the X-6.3 and X-9.0 flares earlier that year, and now the X-2.7 flare in 2025. They're all pieces of the same puzzle. The sun is restless, and its outbursts are growing stronger. AR4087, the culprit behind the latest flare, is still active, its magnetic fields churning with the potential for more eruptions. If a CME from this region hits Earth, the consequences could be unlike anything we've seen in modern times. What would that look like? Picture power grids failing across entire continents, plunging cities into darkness. Satellites dropping like flies, severing global communications, GPS systems offline, stranding travelers, and disrupting supply chains. Hospitals overwhelmed, unable to access digital records. The economic toll would be staggering, trillions in damages, years to recover. And the human toll, unthinkable. This isn't science fiction. It's a scenario experts have warned about for decades. The Carrington event of 1859, a solar superstorm that set telegraph lines ablaze, was a preview of what's possible. Today, with our world wired and interconnected, the stakes are infinitely higher. Yet there's something humbling about it all. The sun, our life-giving star, is also our greatest adversary. For billions of years, it's burned with a fierce, untamed energy, shaping Earth's climate, driving evolution, and occasionally throwing us into chaos. The X-2.7 flare is a reminder of our place in the cosmos, small, vulnerable, but capable of incredible resilience. We can't control the sun, but we can control how we respond. By investing in science, infrastructure, and preparedness, we can weather the storm and emerge stronger. Let's circle back to May 14th, 2025. The X-2.7 flare hit like a cosmic sledgehammer, disrupting radio communications, rattling satellites, and exposing our technological Achilles heel. But it was more than a headline. It was a call to action. As Solar Cycle 25 barrels toward its peak, the sun will keep firing, and we need to be ready. Scientists are watching AR4087 closely, knowing it could unleash a CME at any moment. Space agencies are sounding the alarm, urging governments to act. And every one of us has a role to play, staying informed, preparing for disruptions, and supporting efforts to build a more resilient world. The emotional weight of this moment is undeniable. There's fear, yes, the fear of a world thrown into darkness, of systems failing when we need them most. But there's also awe. The sun's power is breathtaking, a reminder of the forces that shape our universe. And there's hope. Hope that we can rise to the challenge, that our ingenuity and determination will carry us through. This isn't just a story about a solar flare. It's a story about humanity, about our ability to face the unknown and come out stronger. So what's next? The sun isn't done with us. AR4087 is still out there, crackling with energy. And Solar Cycle 25 is far from over. More flares will come, some stronger than the X-2.7, some with CMEs that could change life as we know it. But we're not helpless. By learning from events like this, By investing in science and preparedness, we can protect our world and our future. The sun may be a titan, but we're a species that thrives on challenges. Let's meet this one head-on. As we move deeper into 2025, the sun's activity will only intensify. Every flare, every CME is a test of our resilience, a chance to prove we can adapt and endure. The X 2.7 flare was a warning shot, a glimpse of the chaos that could unfold if we're not ready. But it's also an opportunity to rethink our infrastructure, to prioritize space weather forecasting, and to unite as a global community against a shared threat. The sun doesn't discriminate. Its storms affect us all, from the smallest village to the largest city. And in that shared vulnerability, we find strength. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of the 2025 solar storm. Stay vigilant, stay prepared, and keep your eyes on the skies. The sun is speaking, and it's up to us to listen.